everyone. I'm so excited to be here. So before I get started with my presentation, I just have to share a funny story. I often get asked, Margarita, why do you like working with attorneys? And my response is always, well, my name's Margarita. Like, what lawyer doesn't love a good margarita? So hopefully this will be nice and fun for you. I like to give interactive speeches, so if I call on you, please don't freeze, just respond, pretend you're in law school, and you know exactly what to say. I'm a data analyst by trade. I worked with Nielsen for over 6 years, and if there's a way to measure something, I'd rather go with numbers because you can't really argue with numbers. You can't really argue with data, okay? And numbers tell a story, but it takes a really creative mind to really interpret the story that the numbers are telling you. So I'm going to start with a really easy story. And it's kind of a scary story. Like, I feel like I should have a flashlight and we should turn the lights off because this is a scary story that some of you might have already experienced. So once upon a time, a law firm owner invested $10,000 on an ad campaign and got, anybody? Is this triggering marketing PTSD? No? Okay. So here were the results. 30 leads, 10 wanted, 6 lost, okay? You're like, yeah, 6, 30 leads, 10 wanted, not so bad. Let's do some math though. If 2 of them went to voicemail, ouch, like inner tear in my soul. 4 of them ghosted. That's my 6 that got lost. That's what happened, okay? The 2 that went to voicemail, we don't know. They might have been, people kicking tires, not serious, asking to, for you to answer legal questions for nothing. 4 ghosted. The 4 ghosted are people that were qualified, that got injured, okay? So let's just do some simple math because I don't like to do math in my head. Let's say the average case value, which this is like way lower than what y'all deal with, was $10,000. Those 4 that ghosted were $40,000 that just went out the window. Let's have a moment of silence. Okay, $40,000. So what do firms typically blame? Can anybody relate to this? Anybody? It's the marketing, right? I knew I shouldn't have put that picture of me from the 80s with a mullet on the landing page, right? We need better leads. Targeting was all off, right? Bad geography. Why were people calling me from California if I'm in Florida? Let's just switch vendors, okay? As a CMO, I analyze data from the top of the funnel. So we look at views, clicks, right? Wanted. Many times we find that it's not really the marketing, it's the lack of connection. Because let's go back to our original example. Those were 4 wanted leads. You can't argue with that, right? Even if your landing page did have a picture of you with a mullet, like, you still managed to get those 4 wanted leads that ghosted. What does ghosting mean? Does everybody know what that means? I'm kind of taking it for granted. Like, we all know ghosting in our personal life, right? Where you like swipe left, swipe right. Okay. So there's a point to that metaphor, right? We all understand this. Anybody have kids too, like toddlers, I like to liken personal injury PNCs to toddlers. Here's why they're similar. Toddlers are irrational creatures, right? They have a lot of feelings. My youngest is 5, and I always like to share this story. Like, he will cry because his banana's broken. Like, he doesn't want it, right? Can I rationally describe to my child that that's not like a real problem, right? But isn't that what sometimes your team does when people are calling and they're like, I just want to tell you what happened. Close your eyes. Indulge me. Close your eyes. You were driving, minding your business. You got rear-ended out of nowhere, okay? And you have this adrenaline in your body. You have all these feelings. You're like a toddler with a broken banana, right? You're not rational in that moment. And all you want to do is tell somebody where you're hurting, how you're hurting, what happened, how unfair is this, and ask questions like, do I have to go to work, and do I have to go to the doctor, and now I have this $10,000 ambulance bill. Like, there's a lot of feelings, right? You can open your eyes again. So I don't want any of you to fall asleep. Okay, so it's connection, meaning many times we have these conversations with PNCs or your team because, and I keep saying your team because what I have found in my career as a CMO is many law firm owners, so those of you that are here, you do these things instinctively, right? Has anybody ever referred you a case and you're like, yeah, man, let me get your first name and your last name? No, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm honored by the referral from, Ted over at the whatever immigration law firm. That you do this instinctively, but here's the deal, your team does not. And I know this from auditing phone calls from law firms all over the country. It's that connection is what's really missing. So here's some numbers that you can aim for, like right away. If you want to write anything down, this would be it. Make sure that your phone calls are being answered within 3 rings because, again, I'm taking you back to the trauma, right? You're traumatized. So you don't want to wait. You don't want to go to voicemail. You don't want to have, an answering machine be your first contact. You want to talk to somebody like right now. What's going to happen if you don't answer within 3 rings? That person gets impatient. What are they going to do? Exactly. I don't want them to do that, right? Like, let them just talk to you. Josh's team did all this work so that you showed up first and, in the AI search, and then all of a sudden they call you and then, voicemail. You also want to aim to build trust and qualify those leads within 24 hours. We're all human, okay? Sometimes the phone lines get tied up. There are technical solutions, by the way, if you have a high call volume and things are going to voicemail. We can talk about it later. But you want to make that connection and build trust within the 24 hours, especially in your space, because people need to take, and there's a sense of urgency, right? If they take too long to go to treatment, like that, causes issues. So you want to build that trust within 24 hours, 48 that's the most. You can do this with your conversation, and there are going to be instances where maybe they do need a minute because, again, they're going through trauma, right? Like, some people just have trust issues that have nothing to do with you. Their dad left or their mom was mean, I don't know, whatever, and they need a minute, right? So 24 hours, you have the conversation, you build that trust, and you follow up with automation. So there's other things that you can do there. You want to sign up or answer 95% of the calls. Again, call flow can go to voicemail. Sometimes, your marketing team does really well and you're like, oh man, I need to add another intake person, right? That happens. But you want to keep an eye on making sure that 95% of the phone calls get answered by a live person. Is anybody using AI in their firm to be the first touch point? Like, if you have to, okay, I'll allow it, but please don't. Like, have a live person answer, because they want that human touch. They want to feel safe. And then you want to aim to close at least 90% or more of the leads that have a valid case. So this is the percentage of wanted. These are very reasonable goals that you can set at your law firm and monitor these every single month to see where you're at. So are any of you doing this already, or some of these? Yeah? All right. So I know this is probably small for you. I'll go over it bit by bit. So this is the methodology that I created. It's called Connect Convert. It's called Connect Convert, not Convince Convert, right? So what am I saying with Connect Convert? It's about connection, right? We're not here to argue with people like, look, man, if you don't sign up and let me help you with your case, it's going to be awful for you. We're not convincing. We're connecting. We're building trust. We're diffusing tension. We're handling the trauma, okay? So these are the KPIs that I have found that if we score close to a 10 every single time on a phone call with a qualified lead, we're likely to sign up that person. Like, again, there are extreme circumstances. Some people just have like trust issues or whatever, right? So that greeting, and I have descriptions of this in my book, so I won't go into too much detail, but you want to have establish trust. So tone is a huge one. Many times we focus on what are we going to say, and that's important, but that tone. One of the things that we teach people to do that are in intake is, take a breath before each call, be fully present, because it can get really easy, right? You haven't had your second cup of coffee, you're thirsty, you're uncomfortable, and you're like, can I help you, right? We don't want to do that. So qualifying, whatever qualification processes you have at your firm, we want to make sure that we're thorough with those. Empathy is a big one. Most law firms struggle with empathy. There is this mindset pattern that I find when we do these audits and when we teach people this program where, emotions don't belong in the workplace, right? So I once asked somebody in an intake team, how do you show empathy in a phone call? And she was like, deer in the headlights. And I was like, okay, forget that question. What would you do if your mom told you, I just got in an accident? And she paused and she was like, what happened? And I'm like, okay, you're capable of bringing out these emotions, right? So that's a big one. Preparation. Preparation is the steps that you take by preparing the person to say yes before you're going to ask for them to take the next step. So preparation can be something like, okay, I got the information I needed and, great. How do I move forward? What do I do next? Have some self-control and say, you know what, by the way, before we go through those steps, let me just reassure you that you called the right place. I'm really excited that we're going to be able to help you. I was just talking to somebody with a similar case to yours, et cetera, et cetera. That's preparation. This helps to minimize ghosting. That's actually the one that if you skip it, you're probably getting a lot of ghosting. because people say they want help or they give you a false yes that they're not going to actually follow along with. So personalization, assurance, those are all about, using the person's name in the conversation, citing examples of cases that are similar to them, or even just making a comment. You hear a dog barking in the background, right? Like, oh, you have dogs, I have dogs. You're creating connection. You might think like that's a lot of fluff, but those are opportunities to create connection. And then commitment is more about having them take a symbolic action. Okay, I'm going to send you a agreement from this email, or I'm going to send it from this number. Go ahead and write down that text. It's a little awkward at first, but when you're used to it, symbolic action, it's almost like a contract, like an emotional contract that they're creating where they're more likely to follow through. Okay, so today's leads are thinking, I have options. I don't trust you yet. I'd rather ghost you instead of saying no, right? Very similar to how we are in relationships, okay? Ghosting, the most expensive problem that nobody's really tracking or addressing. So here's the psychology of why people ghost, okay? People ghost because they're avoiding conflict. They just don't trust you yet. They feel overwhelmed, or they have some sort of emotional discomfort that either you're not picking up on or they haven't articulated yet and that you're not addressing. So here are some action items that you can take, okay? Ghosting is likely to happen after the person on the other line is emotionally, like literally this girl's face. Like if you feel this energy on the phone, like they're about to ghost you, okay? They're emotionally detached. What does that sound like? Can anybody give me an example? Like of PNC is emotionally detached. Oh, okay. Uh-huh. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's that energy drop, okay? Low engagement. They're not asking a lot of questions. Sometimes your sales and intake team, probably not you, because you know better, you're probably more emotionally intelligent than most people. They don't pick up on the fact that if they're continuing to just agree, like, okay, yeah, sure, okay, that's actually not a good sign, right? They're like, oh, this is happening. I'm going to send them the agreement and they're going to sign it. The idea here is that you need to train your team that connection is what converts, the scripts don't. How many of you use scripts? Yeah. So it's not a bad idea as a guide, but I want to encourage you and invite you to invite your team, allow your team the space to go off script a little bit. If you have your checklist of things that they need to ask and all, that's fine. Like they can still do that, but sometimes it's okay to go out of order, because what happens is you think you're helping your team by giving them a script, but you're actually encouraging them to detach and not connect because they're so obsessed with the script. Do I have a script right now in my hands? Am I reading anything? Are you like actually feeling connected with me as I'm giving this talk? Like you're engaged, right? No one's falling asleep. I saw one person yawn, but it's cool. I won't take it personal. Okay. Connection is what converts. The scripts don't, okay? So yes to scripts, but we don't have to internalize. We don't have to go by the script every single time. Let's always focus on that connection. So here are some tips to fix, okay? You look for excitement and relief. If the person is not excited, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I called you. I was about to go with that other lawyer from the billboard, right? Or if they don't show relief, like, oh, I feel so much better. Those are the two emotions that let us know they're probably not going to ghost you because a connection has been made. So this is very different from the, okay, no, I don't have any other questions. If they're the person that's about to ghost you because they're avoiding conflict, here are some of the signs. They use very vague language, okay? They're not giving you the details about what happened. They're not really like going into it too much. They ask very few questions. Again, they don't show emotion, no relief, no excitement, really just no connection even with the person. Oh, you have dogs? Yeah, right? Like you're like trying and they're just not connecting. And then they're over appeasing because they just want to get you off the phone. Like they already thought to themselves, I don't like this. I don't like you. I don't like this law firm. I'm not going to do this. Something you said. So this is what you need to do. Slow them down and reassure them. So maybe the person is not asking you questions. They're the ones that you have to ask the questions for them and answer them yourself. By the way, many people in your situation might be wondering, how long will my case take? We're here to make sure that you get the maximum compensation. And my name's Margarita, by the way. What's your name? Sarah. I'm so glad that you called because many people with cases just like yours get pleasantly surprised by the amount of compensation they're able to get, because we're going to dig for every single policy, every single possibility to get you the best possible outcome. You didn't ask me, Sarah, but I think it's important that I share this with you. Okay? So that's what that sounds like. You can also label for a reaction. So what does this mean? So this one you have to be really careful with, okay? Like you got to be ninja status to use this one because it can blow up in your face. Sarah, I noticed you're a little bit quiet. Do you not like me, Sarah? That's labeling. Sarah's gonna want to correct and be like, no, it's not that. It's just, I gotta talk to my, husband about this, or, my friend about this because he's a lawyer and I'm just not ready to make a decision. Like, okay. And they'll want to explain, they'll want to correct you when you use labels, okay? But you want to be careful with that one because imagine if she's like, yeah, actually, no, I don't like you, Margarita. That's exactly what the problem is. So be really careful with that. You also want to prompt for questions, okay? What's your name? Raimundo. Raimundo, just out of curiosity, like what questions did you have before you even called? I want to make sure that I've gotten everything I need to go over with you.
I think you covered university.
Awesome. You're lying, but okay. All right. So asking questions for them, okay? Many in your situation wonder X, Y, and Z. Here's what you need to know. Be super friendly, okay? If the issue is they don't trust you yet, okay? Here's how you know this could probably be the underlying issue, okay? They ask more procedural questions. What do I need to sign? I need to read over the agreement. That's like trust issues all the way, okay? Because if somebody trusts you, they're going to relax about all that stuff because they already trust you as a person, okay? Repeat concerns on a loop. This is, the person that will ask the question one way and then ask the same question. And by the way, this is common and it's a trauma response, right? These people that are undergoing trauma, sometimes they've got a brain injury and like they're having trouble articulating. So they just repeat. There's a lot of anxiety. And I notice, and my team notices when we audit calls, that sometimes the intake team will get frustrated with them, right? Like I already said, like it's on a contingency. You pay nothing unless we win. And it's like, listen, slow down. They're traumatized. Don't take it personal. And they just don't trust you yet. Or don't even say, I already called 5 law firms and none of this makes any sense. And, why can't you tell me how long my case is going to take? Like they're asking for guarantees. Though, again, those are trust issues. They delay or avoid commitment. So how do you address when they don't trust you yet? You want to ask how they feel. Oddly enough, like I was listening to a phone call as an elderly man, and the intake person, was like, sir, by the way, like, how are you feeling right now? It sounds like he got off topic. He's like, it sounds like you've already been through a lot. Like, how are you feeling? Like, where does it hurt? Like, or how are you sleeping? Got off topic for a little bit, diffuse the situation, okay? Sometimes you can even label the objection for them. Like if you really feel like it's so crystal clear that they don't trust you because they say, I don't trust lawyers. They might say it. You can label it back. Does that mean you don't trust me? Right? And it kind of creates this like discomfort that'll prompt them to give you more information and again, disarm the tension a little bit. Then ask them, what does success look like? Sometimes they're in their head with these ideas of outcomes that are not even possible. And this is why they have trust issues because they saw some lawyer with a $2 million check for a fender bender, right? And they're like asking for that guarantee. And you can ask them, what does success look like for you? Oh, well, I want to get $2 million. Listen, like, I would love to guarantee that for you, but here's how these things really work. And listen, I'm being honest with you. I have your best interests. Like I care about, by the way, I work for this firm because I really believe that the quality of work that we do here actually changes lives and it'd be an honor to change your life. Okay. So sometimes people don't necessarily want to know what you know. They just want to know that you care first. And this is something that we teach a lot of folks that work in sales and intake because sometimes it's intimidating for them to be in a situation where they're talking about legal matters and they're not you. They don't have your law degree. They don't have your expertise and it can make them feel insecure. So we encourage them to use their personal agenda declaration as a resource in the conversation, again, to really create that connection and build that trust. So It sounds like you're worried, that this will be more stress than it's worth. That's an example of how we start to articulate what are some of the reasons for their objection, okay? They feel overwhelmed. This is how you know they're probably just feeling overwhelmed. They laugh or is distracted. People that have undergone major trauma in their body may be frustrating to talk to because you're trying to get like, so what happened? How are you feeling? Did you go to the doctor yet? And they're laughing, and you might think, oh, they're not taking this seriously. They're not paying attention, right? But if they're laughing or are distracted, what you're actually noticing is that they're just overwhelmed. Again, if they don't ask very many questions, but then you feel that anxiety in combination with that, then that's usually an indication that they're just physically feeling overwhelmed. Asking repetitive or redundant questions, or just delays the decision for an unknown reason, okay? So you want to label their feelings. I get the feeling that this is really overwhelming. Like, how are you feeling? Again, label their feelings. Guide them, but let them feel in control, okay? Reassure them that you care, and then normalize their emotion. Like, I get the feeling like you are a bit anxious right now. And by the way, this happens all the time. I talk to people like you all day, like it's gonna be okay. I'm here for you. Like, I've got you. I work here because, again, you bring in those connection statements and you normalize their emotions. So here's exactly what happens next. How does that sound? So here's exactly what's gonna happen next. I'm gonna send you an agreement. You're gonna have now representation. We're gonna get you like, so you slow down the conversation because, again, they're feeling overwhelmed. Everything's loud, everything's noisy, everything's confusing. And you can repeat yourself multiple times. It is actually helpful for them. It may not make sense to you why you have to, but you want to repeat again, back to the toddler, right? We're going outside. Okay, put your shoes on. We're going outside. Like, it's a similar dynamic. Okay, so if they're emotionally uncomfortable, notably angry, frustrated, it happens to all of us, okay? Something you said, I reminded you of your ex, I'm so sorry. Like, it is what it is, okay? They make negative assumptions. They tell you, like, yeah, no, I just don't trust you. Or I'm going to go to such and such. I already talked to them, and, I rather work with them, okay? Those are a little bit tricky. So go ahead and you can try to label their situation, repeat their responses to their concerns. This is how you know, like, they're uncomfortable. You want to reassure them that you care, and then you want to normalize their emotions. Again, a lot of these fit many of these situations. They're very similar. It sounds like you've been through a lot already. A statement like that can help continue the conversation and make space for a connection. So, as a reminder, marketing is what gets you the full call. Connection is what actually converts the case. I'm going to repeat it again so we'll count with the bet. Marketing is going to get you that phone call or the form fill out, right? Connection is going to convert the case. So it's not convince, it's connect. Exactly. You want to build trust? Give relatable proof, label hesitation, answer unasked questions. So everything that I just showed you, it boils down to these 4 action items that you want to accomplish on every call. Every call is an opportunity. You're either going to build a relationship, get a referral, or get a retained case. I go through audits with many law firms, and it's like, oh, if I already know they're not a qualified case, I'm just going to rush them off the phone. Don't do that. Don't miss an opportunity. You can send somebody a referral if it's a case that somebody else in your network can take. If anything, they could be a referral source for you with a friend or a loved one because you gave them such a good experience. If you're interested in learning more about Connect Convert methodology, I actually have an app. It's Marketing Boss app. There you can go to the website, Marketing Boss app website. There's a free course. So you can actually watch a video course, share it with your team. I'm on a mission to transform the legal space into a law firm or into a space that is known for its empathy, okay? It's known for care. And I think we have a great opportunity to do that together. So I welcome you and your teams to take advantage of this resource. And that's it.